Welcome back to World of Immersion. Today we are going to be ranking all of the 6 haunts that we went to this past Halloween season. Now we had the chance to visit 6 haunts across the Los Angeles and Southern California area, and this is by far the most amount of haunts we've ever been to in 1 year. So I'm super excited to be going into this rankings video. It was a lot of fun checking out all of these events. All of these events were a ton of fun. I definitely would recommend checking them out next year if you can. We're definitely going to be going back to all of these 6 events again next year because they're really fun. But obviously not all of them can be the best events, so that's why we're going to be ranking them. We're going to be counting them down from worst to best, so be sure to stay tuned. Before we start today's video though, be sure to hit that subscribe button so you never miss when we have brand new content. We still have a lot more Halloween content coming out in the next few weeks, so be sure to stay tuned for that. But with that being said, let's get right into the video, starting off with number 6. Alright, so at number 6, in last place, unfortunately this year, this was a brand new event for us this year. We had never been. This was SeaWorld San Diego's Howl-O-Scream. Now, I did have some pretty high hopes going into this event. I had heard some pretty decent things, but unfortunately this event just really didn't live up to the hype it got. Now, previously I'd only been to SeaWorld San Diego one other time, so this is my second ever visit. So it was nice to get to ride on some of the coasters again. We got to ride the brand new Arctic Rescue. That was definitely the highlight of the night. But we're judging the event just based on the mazes and scare zones, not based on the rides, because that would be unfair to judge all the events based on the rides that they have. So we're just going to talk about the mazes and scare zones, and Howl-O-Scream, in my opinion, had by far the worst scare zones and the worst mazes. Now, the mazes weren't bad. I don't think any event this year was bad at all. This SeaWorld San Diego's Howl-O-Scream had 5 mazes, and they weren't that awful. Just in my opinion, they were not of the quality of the other events. For starters, there was no audio in any of the mazes, which I always talk about. It adds so much atmosphere, and it makes it a lot scarier when there's audio, music playing, sound effects, anything like that. I also feel like a lot of the mazes were very understaffed. I remember there was one maze we went through, I believe it was the alien one. I'm not too keen on what the name was. However, I remember there being 2 actors in the entire maze, which compared to some of the other events was just not it. So it really hurts me to put this event at last place because, like I said, it was not a bad event. It was still really fun. I like the atmosphere in the park. But yeah, it just had to come in at number 6, unfortunately. But moving on to number 5. And number 5 is the event I've been going to for a long time now. This was, I think, my 5th year of this event. This is the Los Angeles Haunted Hayride. Now, this event is very close to my house, so I go there quite often. Recently, though, however, I feel like it has been deteriorating in quality just a little bit. I think the mazes themselves are pretty fun. The hayride itself, though, in my opinion, is not that great and not really worth it. I definitely don't think it's worth it to go to this event if you're just purchasing the hayride ticket. I definitely would add on the extra $10 for the 3 other mazes because those mazes are definitely the highlight in my opinion. They had a brand new maze this year, and I thought it was really cool. The mazes, honestly, are pretty decent. Similarly to Howl-O-Scream, they are pretty quiet. There's no sound effects in there, except the scare actors do a really good job, and there are quite a lot of scare actors in there. The only maze I feel like that I would say is a letdown is the Trick or Treat maze. It's mostly outdoors, and it's not too great, but the other 2 mazes I think are really, really fun and pretty decently scary too. And like I said, lots of actors in there, and the actors do a fantastic job. Also, the walk-around scare actors are great. They're very interactive with this event. Overall, it's just a pretty fun event. It just had to come in lower on this list because of how small it is and how much the hayride itself is a little bit of a letdown for me. But moving on to number 4 is an event that I just made a recent video on, and that is Six Flags Magic Mountain's Fright Fest. Now, if you haven't already, be sure to check out that video. I go in depth about what made this event this year not too great. Now, this event should be higher on the list. It's got 8 mazes, and it's got a ton of scare zones. It is one of the biggest events from this year. However, in my opinion, it was not too great. Honestly, I would say that the hayride maze quality was significantly better than Fright Fest. However, just because of the sheer size of Fright Fest, I had to put it one step higher on the list. It's not that bad of an event, to be honest. Just the mazes themselves were not that great, and especially the brand new maze Conjuring I thought was really bad. But overall, some of the highlights this year were definitely Saw X. Saw X was a fantastic maze in my opinion. It was really cool to see IPs in the park. And I think the scare actors were doing a fantastic job this year, as always. With Fright Fest, they always do a great job in those mazes. Truth or Dare was also one of the most improved mazes by far. If you haven't already, be sure to check out our full ranking of all 8 mazes at Fright Fest. I'll link the video in the description below. But yeah, overall, Fright Fest was a lot of fun this year. I think it definitely was better than previous years. However, it just does not stand up to the other 3 events on this list. In my opinion, these next 3 events, these top 3, are all really, really good and definitely events you should prioritize for next year. But coming in at number 3 in this event that we have never been to before this year, that is going to be Shacktoberfest. Now, this is only the second year that they have done this, but I was really pleasantly surprised with this event. I had practically no expectations going in. In fact, Shacktoberfest was also the cheapest event at only $30 per ticket. It is by far the cheapest event on this list. The next cheapest was the Haunted Hayride, which was around $45. And with Shacktoberfest, you get 5 mazes, a ton of scare zones, and a huge party atmosphere. I thought Shacktoberfest felt like one giant party. It was very different than the Hayride. Even though they're both run by the same company, it felt more similar to Halloween Horror Nights, whereas the Hayride felt more similar to Scary Farm, in my opinion. Shacktoberfest mazes, though, were really good. They did have some audio in there, and the set design was incredible. By far, the standout maze for me this year was the Grey Ghost. That was the maze that is on board the Queen Mary. It is a ton of fun. It is super long. They actually have a halfway point. The first half is not super scary. It's more kind of atmospheric. And you're after the halfway point, you're allowed to exit if you think it's too scary. If not, you can continue on, and that's when it gets really intense. It's loud in there, and it's just really scary, good maze. Honestly, that maze really shocked me, and just overall, the maze quality was incredible, in my opinion. And by far, I feel like this was one of the best value events. Like I said, it was by far the cheapest event, and it was just really cool being right up next to the Queen Mary. It provides a fantastic backdrop for this event. The Pumpkin Patch maze was also really fun. All the mazes were really long, except for the first maze we did, which was the carnival-themed one. That one was pretty short. But other than that, all the other mazes were really good. And like I said, fantastically detailed. Scare actors were also on point. They were doing a fantastic job interacting with guests really well. And overall, it's just a really fun event. I would definitely recommend checking it out next year. I know for sure we will be back. And hopefully they have some brand new mazes. Now, the top 2, I feel like, is no shock to anybody what those 2 events are. That is Halloween Horror Nights and not Scary Farm. But the order that we ranked them in is very interesting, I feel like, for this year. Now, usually I would say that Halloween Horror Nights is the dominant event. However, this year, Halloween Horror Nights comes in at number 2. Now, don't get me wrong, this year was incredible for Horror Nights. In fact, I think it was one of the best years for Horror Nights that I've ever been. I've been going now, this is my 4th year at Halloween Horror Nights. I started going in 2019, and this year was a ton of fun. The mazes were incredible. Definitely some of the standouts were Monstros was an incredible maze, the Monsters of Latin America. Last of Us was by far my favorite maze of the event, one of my favorite mazes I've ever done of all time. The storytelling in that maze was incredible. It really felt like you're stepping right into the video game or the TV show. The set design in that maze was also amazing. The set design in a lot of the mazes was really good this year too. I thought the Chucky maze was also a really cool highlight. Stranger Things was okay. It wasn't too bad. Monsters Unmasked was also similar to me. It was similar for me. It was not too great. But this event overall was just a lot of fun. I actually went a total of 7 times. It was the event that I visited the most. I had the frequent Fear Pass, which I definitely would recommend getting if you plan on going to Halloween Horror Nights a lot. It was very worth it for me. I was able to do each of the mazes almost 10 times throughout the entire season, which was really great, especially when the crowds started coming in later in the year. I knew that I was able to go through all those mazes already as many times as I'd wanted to. But overall, it was a really fun event. However, it was not number 1 this year. And for me, number 1 was not Scary Farm. This was such a shock to me. When I went for the first time on opening night, it was so incredible. We were able to do every single maze, and we did our favorite maze, Cinema Slasher, 3 times throughout the night. That maze was incredible, by far one of the best mazes I've ever done at any haunt ever. Be sure to check out our rankings video where we rank all of the 10 mazes. That's right, they had 10 mazes this year. That was the most out of any haunt that we had ever been to. 10 mazes is insane. But also be sure to check out our first night vlog where you can see our first initial reactions to all the mazes. We were really shocked when we came out of Cinema Slasher. That maze was really incredible. Their other 2 new mazes, Room 13 and especially Chilling Chambers, was really, really good this year. And just the other mazes overall were also incredible. They definitely added a lot more actors in each of them, and they changed up some of the set design in some of them. But overall, just the set design in the mazes at Not Scary Farm is incredible. The scare actors also do an amazing job, and that's not to mention the amazing scare zones that they have as well. I feel like Knott's has some of the best scare zones filled with actors, and it's just a really great event overall. It's huge. Not only that, they also have 3 other incredible shows. I only had the chance to see one of the shows, The Hanging, this year, but it was amazing. I heard the other 2 shows were also really cool as well. But that's why I had to come in over Halloween Horror Nights. They just had so much to do. And not only that, it was not as crowded as Halloween Horror Nights. I know that's not really fair to judge it on that because Halloween Horror Nights is more popular. but I just had a more enjoyable time at Knott's Scary Farm, and I think that they did a fantastic job this year for their 50th anniversary. I cannot wait to go back to all of these events next year, but especially Knott's Scary Farm. I cannot wait to see what they continue doing. Their maze quality just keeps improving and improving. But that's going to do it for our rankings video today. Be sure to comment down below what your favorite event from this year was, as well as how you would rank the events. If you think we are wrong about our rankings, be sure to comment that down below as well too. But thank you so much for watching World of Immersion today. Stay tuned for brand new videos, and we'll catch you in the next one.